Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and oh boy, I am back for a bonus video for you guys. Probably one of at least a couple here. I'm going to be giving some thoughts on the first couple of E3 2018 press briefings slash conferences. Boy, EA was pretty underwhelming. I thought about, just doing one yesterday since that was the only one yesterday, and then Microsoft just finished up theirs probably about a half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour ago as I'm recording this. And, like I said, EA was pretty underwhelming overall. There was a couple cool things, but not a whole lot to talk about. So I didn't do one just for them. I figured, we'll at least put a couple in there. But boy, Microsoft, there was a lot to talk about. I'm just going to basically go through like the list of games that I can even remember, or that I remember seeing from Twitter and everything, as well as I was watching, or after I watched it. They had, what did they show? 50 games. They said there were like 18 that were, I get them mixed up, was it 18 exclusives or world premieres, and 15 that were exclusives, or vice versa. But yeah, they showed a lot of games. So let's just get right into it here. We are, for the background, I just bought my second house, second dump, as you can see, in House Flipper. I figure, I'm just going to want something very simple, something very non-stressful, so I can keep looking at my little list here. But yeah, I started just to see if we're gonna paint this house. We're gonna make it look a little bit goofy. Nice little kind of a weird kind of a blue here. We got to clean this because it's a dump. And yeah, we're just going to do some stuff with it and then paint the house and clean and whatever. And we're going to talk E3 2018. And we are, as far as the channel goes, yeah, I did look just a little bit ago, and we are actually officially over 1,100 subscribers. So please keep them on coming. And thanks a lot for the views, the comments, likes, subscribes, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's start with EA, shall we? There's a few things. I'm not going to cover everything that they covered, partly because I can't remember, because it wasn't super memorable, but partly because, like I said, I just wasn't too interested in some of the stuff. So the main thing that caught my attention is Sea of Solitude. Now, this was a game, they're doing these, the last few years, they've been doing these things of like EA partners, or like nice indie games. There's some interesting things that have come with that. A couple years ago or so, they did this game called Unravel, which I do own. I can't remember if I own it on Steam, but I think I think I picked it up again recently for free on one of the Xbox Games with Gold recently. It's Unraveled. This 2D platformer kind of a game. Kind of reminds you of like Little Big Planet, but I mean, beautiful, beautiful looking game. I've heard some people say that, it's a little bit, the controls are a little bit floaty, but I haven't played with it myself just yet. But Unravel 2, not only did they officially announce it, but they said, oh yeah, by the way, you can go grab it today. It is out. And in Unravel 2, you can actually play full co-op, drop in and out co-op. So you can play it single player or multiplayer. God, what a dump this place is. I think we'll do the outside first. But yeah, Unravel 2 is out. So I'm going to probably take a look at that at some point. But yeah, Sea of Solitude. This is, again, the reason I mentioned the Unravel games is because Sea of Solitude kind of seems to be along a similar line of like, you're taking this lady went up on stage and kind of told about, she went through this dark time emotionally, like where she was super lonely. And the whole premise behind the game is that like apparently this girl, she's like really lonely and like stuff happens to her. You learn what happened. And then as people are angry, like they turn into these monsters, and it's kind of this tale of redemption of like, can she deal with what she has to? Can she, kind of become more human again? That kind of a thing. But the art style, just the whole premise, yeah, it sounds interesting, and I like when little games like that can tackle some of these themes and stuff that just, your AAA title just won't do. So that is pretty cool there. Battlefield 4, or 5, I mean, Battlefield V. I love the idea of the Battlefield games, but like realistic military stuff, I've never got into simply for the fact that I'm terrible at them. It's all team based. It's, your more realistic military combat. No, I'm just, not feeling it. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. There is supposed to be some sort of a single player campaign-esque thing there, but I don't really know what that's going to be like. They did announce a new Star Wars game that's kind of in the works. We're not going to see it at least until fall of 2019, so not much really to talk about there. They didn't show any footage, but it's going to be called Jedi Fallen Order. So we have that. I talked about Unraveled 2. I'll talk about Anthem in a minute, but they did mention a mobile game, Command & Conquer Rivals. Now, Command & Conquer was a game in the 90s. I think they were really well known for their FMV. I mean, they were good strategy games, like real-time strategy games, if you were into that kind of a thing. Again, that was a genre that I never could get into, so okay, I wonder if we can do something with those windows later. But yeah, so now they're turning it into kind of this mobile type of game, kind of like was it Clash of Clans or something like that, or what? I don't know. There was a clan something or other. There was a couple games that were mentioning like Clash something or other. But I know some people are really into that kind of thing. So hey, I mean, as long as they don't completely butcher the monetization scheme, it's got a shot, because I know a lot of people are into that. And that is actually one of the themes that was really in EA this year. Boy, did they have to do some backpedaling. All the crap they took for their Star Wars Battlefront 2 last year. They just completely wrecked Dungeon Keeper. They put that on mobile a couple of years ago, and it was pretty much it was unplayable as far as like how bad it was. I didn't even try it because I heard of how bad it was. And Dungeon Keeper was one of those games that those real-time strategy or, overhead kind of games that I actually got into on the PC. Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, I keep thinking I got to do a video for those at some point. But yeah, I mean, they literally had a guy from Battlefront 2 come out and go, yeah, I mean, it was sort of genuine, but it was sort of like, well, okay, they pushed back. We couldn't get away with it, so I guess we got to walk back. I mean, the whole presentation, he was kind of dejected, man. I mean, he was kind of like, yeah, we're doing all this stuff, but, we didn't like what we did, so we're going to, But, I mean, come on. How could they have not seen that coming? It was probably some suit. Again, that's what it is. I'm sure the developers really didn't. I mean, they knew when they were putting it in. They're like, oh boy, the crowd's going to be pissed at us. But, like I said, the suits, they don't care. They just be like, oh, well, we're just going to tell you to do it, and you're going to do it. And that's what it is. So, they're adding more new content. They're adding new heroes, villains, maps, some new planet that I forget. But, yeah, so they're adding new content to Battlefront. If there's some mode that I can play single player wise, like I wouldn't mind doing it, but I'm gonna wait till at the very minimum this fall before I think about checking it out, because I'm guessing if anything there'll be like probably this fall there'll be like a complete release or something, where they put all the extra DLC in and all that for a cheaper price. So I don't know if they will or not, but I'm gonna wait because it's not high on my priority. Again, I suck at multiplayer, so there you go. Command & Conquer, what else do we got here? EA Access Premiere. Basically, this is, everyone is sort of doing their, subscribe to our program, and then you get our games either early, or you get a catalog of some of our existing games for free, as long as you're a member, all kinds of different things like that. And So they're adding more new games for that, including ones that are like, oh, okay, we're going to do, releases, like a few new releases of titles. So they're going to have that. I forget exactly which ones they were, but personally, I'm probably not going to subscribe to that because there's not enough EA titles that I'm just like, whatever. They did, of course, EA Sports being super huge for them. They decided that, or they have new stuff for the new FIFA. There's a new Cup. They got a new Madden thing, and especially with the EA accessibility thing going on with what they did for Madden, I am genuinely curious to see if and what improvements on top of what they did in 2018. I'm kind of curious to see what happens with that. So that'll be something we'll probably find out about later. Naturally, they're not going to mention that at E3. We're, too small of an audience. But, hey, hopefully there'll be something cool in there. And the last thing at EA, really, that was definitely worth talking about is Anthem. Now, this is from the BioWare crew, which I have not covered the Mass Effect trilogy. Well, and then there was that. Well, I did cover the early access of, what was it, Andromeda, I think it was called, that came out. Was that early this year or was it last year? Hell, I can't even remember. It's just such a blur. I think it was last year. But the Mass Effect original trilogy started out on Xbox 360. That was freaking cool. Like, that was a science fiction game that I loved. It wasn't. It was RPG, but it was fully self-voiced, so it was easy for me to get all the story. You would explore several planets. You go on all these different missions. Really cool characters, races, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there were some things, especially like the Mako in the first one, the vehicle, not very good. But overall, like especially Mass Effect 2 was freaking amazing. So the developers of that, and several other games, the Knights of the Old Republic games, if you're into the turn-based Star Wars stuff, just all kinds of content. But Anthem is this it's like a third-person action-y role-playing game. I don't exactly know the whole gameplay loop, but it's it's another action RPG, third-person. You are playing what are they? Not jackals. What are they? They're basically like Iron Man suits. It's kind of like you get to live your Iron Man fantasy. You're starts with a J, though. Not jackals, jaguars. I can't remember what the hell they called them. But anyway, you're in these basically exosuits, and you get missions, and you'll do some single player stuff. You get some story stuff, and then you go into these online instances with either friends or strangers or whatever, and you do these group quests and things like that. And I think you can solo quite a bit. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be like Destiny, which is Activision's kind of or Bungie's, like they did the Halo games, but then they did this, it's like a first-person shooter online, like basically loot and mission games. You grind for stuff, you get upgrades, and I never really played it because, I was originally interested in it in Destiny 1 and 2, but especially 1, but I just, like I said, playing with random people and not really I think you can do some single player stuff, but it's meant to be an online game. So I don't know. Like I'm kind of torn between whether I'm going to like Anthem, but I really want to. Like if there's enough single player content, especially, that's what I'm most interested in. But it was really like RPG stuff. You shoot dudes and there's like numbers flying out of them, like in an RPG, or like Borderlands, which I still got to cover on the channel. But all kinds of stuff there, and we didn't get we got a little bit of mission stuff similar to what we saw last year. We see how some of the team stuff is, but like when you go back to your base and you're doing your solo stuff, how does that stuff work? That's the kind of thing that I want to know about more. But, I don't know. It's going to come out supposedly in February. I wouldn't honestly be surprised if Anthem, they say it's going to hit in February, but it would not surprise me at all if it got delayed till later next year. Maybe they around late this year, they go, oh, well, we got to polish the game a little more. And, I'm okay with that. Until we learn more, especially what the overall gameplay loop is, I don't know. We'll see what it's going to be. We'll see. But that's EA, I might be missing one or two things here and there. But overall, for a start to E3 on Saturday, I was pretty underwhelmed. I mean, it's like, okay, there's a few things, like I said, those, the SOS, Sea of Solitude, that looked pretty cool. A couple other odds and ends. I'm really curious to see what happens with Anthem, but overall, okay at best, pretty, nothing really unexpected. Now we get into Microsoft, and I'm just going to go through, talk a little bit about a whole bunch of games, probably not even all of them, but hey, there you go. Sekiro, Shadow Dies Twice. That was an early thing that they showed that was like this action-y game. I don't know, it looked pretty cool. You're jumping around, slashing dudes. They kind of mixed some story stuff with some gameplay, but I thought it looked pretty good. That sounds like something I would actually play. That was one of those, I'd never heard of the game before, so hey, that was another nice premiere. They started the conference with a kind of a teaser. Like at first I was like, I don't even know what this is, but it turned out to be for Halo 5, which is probably going to come sometime next year at the earliest. So they teased us with a little bit of Halo, naturally. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3. That's sort of interesting. I've never played Kingdom Hearts. A friend of mine in college had the games, and I watched a little bit of it. Basically, and I don't even know like how this works, but you got these Square, like Final Fantasy characters mixing with Disney characters. So like, your Donald, Goofy, Mickey, and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea what the story is of any of the games. I know that people say that the franchise is really confusing because they have like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, but then they have all these spin-off games, and they're named really weird too. They're like, like 2.5 by 10 over 1B3, and like, I don't know what the hell, or like Birth by Sleep, and I mean, literally, I think Birth by Sleep is one, but there's actually more to the title than that even, I think. I don't know, but it's weird. But and especially what I'm wondering about is I was kind of hoping that they would say something about, oh, by the way, since Kingdom Hearts 3 is first time coming to Xbox, yeah, before we do that, we are going to give you a, Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 collection like they released on PlayStation, because if somebody's coming into 3, and especially with the story the way it is, I wonder how they're going to get new players of the franchise to really be sucked in on the Xbox platform when most people are familiar with it through Sony, because, the game, it looks beautiful. I mean, the graphics are really good. But yeah, I know nothing about the story, and it just looks, crazy. How are they going to get, new players in? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people, especially Xbox people, that have not played the original Kingdom Hearts games, so we'll see what happens with that. What else do we got here? Bum. Oh yeah, Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. This one could be kind of neat. It seems like another one of those adventure games, like just like Life is Strange, or very similar to Life is Strange. It's actually made by the same company, and the art style, it looks just kind of like Life is Strange. It's got that really distinct. It's not realistic. It's not quite, it's got its unique look to it, though, and I like it. It looks like this kid who has all kinds of imagination stuff. He's like pretending, playing with his toys and pretending. And so I remember one line in the thing, he was talking to his dad, and it must have been like right in the morning. He's like, "Really, Dad? You're drinking already?" He's like, "Hey, knock it off." So I'm guessing there's going to be some, some stuff that the kid is going to have to deal with. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I would definitely like to learn more about it. And that's just supposed to be free, actually, coming up later. Was it later this month, I think? So it'll be something that we can actually play. We'll have to check into that possibly. But yeah, that looked kind of interesting. We Happy Few got an August release date this year, and they did show more of like the story mode, because remember, it was on Steam actually in early access, and I think they actually took down the beta because it was really kind of limited and people were mad about it, and it was buggy, or I don't remember. There was some reason that they took it down. But yeah, so We Happy Few, it's this weird kind of dystopian thing where everyone's taking this drug called joy. They put these weird creepy masks on. They're like, oh, we're gonna make it smile, and there's some weird truth that you're supposed to uncover. I don't know. I really don't know what it's going to be. But hey, I'm intrigued about it. And so, especially for the single player portion of it, I'm interested in the story for that. Session. Now, this was something that was really unexpected. I think it was like some Eminem song that was playing in the trailer, but basically it looked a lot like Skate. Like, I thought it was actually going to be a Skate 4, to be honest. I know there's been some speculation that it was going to be Skate, or that Skate 4 was going to be coming, and I thought that's what it was going to be. But no, it seems to be some sort of... they focused a lot more on like the low angles of skateboarding, kind of like how Skate did. Like, and Tony Hawk, he was more of higher up behind the back of the character, sort of a camera position, whereas Skate, again, it was like more lower. Like, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what that game is. I rented the original Skate, I think, but I was a huge... I've said on the channel before, the Mighty Hath Fallen. Before all of the the downfall of the Tony Hawk series, I loved it. Like, the first several games, oh, beautiful games. I loved them. So fun. But I tried Skate, and I just couldn't really get into it. I really couldn't get into that game very much. I just was not feeling it at all. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. I'm very, very curious to know what the heck is going on with Session. Xbox Game Pass. Now, this is something that I've kind of thought about picking up. This is it's on top of Xbox Live Gold, so you're paying more, but you're actually getting quite a few different like, you get a catalog of existing games, you get all of Microsoft's first party games that are going to be coming out. Like, they did that with Sea of Thieves, they did it with State of Decay that just came out. Both of those came out. And like I said, all the first party games this fall and ongoing, you're gonna get those. So that's pretty cool. That I'm looking forward to. And it might be worth it, because there are some games that, like, I don't know that if I really want to buy, especially at full price if they're $60 games. But if I could play them and be like, okay, yeah, maybe I do want to permanently own them, then I could pick them up. But be a way, like I said, I like the action concept of State of Decay, but from what I've seen, there's so much text, and like, there's, it's not just an action game. You're really having to micromanage your little settlement, and like, oh, you got to keep people happy, and like, manage all your resources. And so there's a lot of menus and a lot of text and stuff to have to deal with too. So I don't know. I might look into Game Pass. That looks reasonably good still. I can probably clean that. Oh, these tiles though. Yuck, this bathroom is fugly. Like I said, this is a house that I'm doing from scratch. So I'm just basically trying to make it inhabitable. You see those guys those things on the left. As I do things, I will, if people start getting interested in the property, they'll start giving me suggestions, and if I follow those, when I actually get the house renovated and I sell it, then they'll be more likely to buy it if I use their suggestions. So there you go, working on the house. Devil May Cry 5. This looks just insane. I played the original Devil May Cry, never beat it, but I watched a friend of mine. Well, a friend of mine and I in college, we went through it. And it was interesting. The thing that I really had trouble with as far as Devil May Cry, the originals go, is they had this fixed camera in a lot of cases, a la Resident Evil. And some of the camera angles, they were really, really far out. And so as a low vision user especially, it was very hard to see. But there's a Devil May Cry remake. It was called DMC. I own it on Steam. Have not played it yet. Surprise, surprise. How many games are in my backlog? My pile of shame, as it were. But yeah, they had that. But Devil May Cry 5, he's like, they were pretty pumped. They're like, this is the best game we've ever done. I mean, it looked just nuts. Like, there were people just talking smack, killing demons. They had some gameplay kind of split in there. And yeah, I'm just really curious to see some actual real gameplay and seeing just how much it, can I just move the camera around like any third-person game, or are you sticking to your fixed and isometric kind of views sometimes? And that, I hope they don't, because the game looks really dumb, but in the best possible way. I'm totally for it. So, Devil May Cry 5. Tales of Vesperia, another game I think I own on Steam, but haven't gotten to play, because again, that one's a super long Japanese RPG. But the things I like about the Tales games, I've played Tales of Symphonia 1 and 2, and you go into the battle screens like you would any classic RPG, but the thing with it is, in these battle scenes, you're actually playing these battles in real time, so it kind of works as like a 2D action-y, fighty thing where as you learn new moves, you can map them to your person that you want to control and choose what party member you want to do. But yeah, that's coming out to Xbox One as well. Division 2. Again, that was another one that I wanted to play. But Division 1 is another one of those that's on, as of today, Division 1 is on Game Pass, I believe. So I might check that out. Like I said, I can't remember if I own it on Steam or not. But it's a Tom Clancy game. It's third person, so basically you're going through this city that's been, after some kind of I don't remember what it was, like a nuclear thing. It was on Christmas or the holidays or something. But yeah, Division 2, they did a trailer, they did a gameplay section, and the gameplay itself looked interesting. But what I really love about some of these like staged gameplay demos is that nobody talks like that. They're like, okay, I see the guy. Want to do the quest? Sure. I mean, it's just like really just really kind of clipped, serious. Like, okay, we're doing our thing. We're gonna do it. But nobody talks like that. There was like no racial slurs or smack talk or like anything like the things that you would just hear everywhere, no matter like what kind of voice chat you're doing in most games these days. So I just kind of had to laugh at that because like, oh yeah, like people talk like that. Sure, buddy. But the Division 2, it looks good. The other thing about a lot of these games, that things like Division 2, there's a couple other games like the Gears of War I'm going to talk about later. Some of these action games, I mean, they look fantastic, but the thing with it is, as a low vision user, again, unless there are things that I can, like to distinguish enemies and friends versus enemies and all kinds of things, it's actually going to be kind of hard to play because the graphics are so good that it's kind of going to be almost hard to see some of the enemies, So that was the one thing I noticed. I'm like, yeah, this looks good, but wow. I'm going to have trouble seeing some of that stuff, possibly. So we got the Division 2. Oh yeah, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Well, that's another game that I'm way behind on series-wise. They did that reboot like Tomb Raider, and then there's Rise of the Tomb Raider, which coincidentally was just 70% off on sale yesterday, so I picked up the deluxe version of that. I've played the first Tomb Raider, haven't beat it. Now I own the second one, and the third one is coming out later, so yeah, like I said, tons of series I'm way behind on. The pile of shame just keeps on growing. So there you go. But, I mean, it looked good. Graphic-wise, yeah, it's a beautiful-looking game. But we'll see how that comes out, and if I can actually catch up in that series at all. Metro Exodus. This is that first-person shooter. I remember I showed you. I think I did 2 Metro videos. Like Metro. What the hell was the first game called? Metro. It was a year. But anyway, I played the first one. I did a video on that, and I think I did a video for the second one as well, not too long ago, a year or two ago. But it's this kind of dystopian Russian first-person shooter, and again, it looks beautiful. But I wonder how easy some of the stuff is actually going to be able to see as a low vision user, just because the fidelity of the graphics are actually really good, really high. So they showed that last year, and it was on stage again this year. So yeah, another first-person shooter coming out. Sea of Thieves DLC. This is, like I said, that was another one that was out on Game Pass. Not one that I want to spend full price for, especially since you want to play that with multiplayer to make that work best. So I don't know what I'm going to do for that, but if I get Game Pass, I might check it out at some point eventually. But there's some new realm or something where there's like skeletons and ghost ships and stuff. I mean, it looks cool. I mean, I hope they do give you more things to do, because that's what really people seem to be complaining about the most in that game, is just the fact that there's, it's really repetitious. There's no real reward incentive. You do quests, you get some money, but there's nothing really interesting to spend the in-game money on. So I don't know. Some people love it though. I mean, sometimes just the character interaction, you don't know if somebody's going to be nice to you or if they're just going to open fire the moment they see your ship. I don't know. I mean, when they did the presentation last year, they did that little story, and it was kind of this little cheeky, kind of British humor kind of a thing. I liked it. I'm like, okay, if they add more of that and if there's actually more story, that's what I was hoping that game would be. Like there would be some story missions, some dialogue, that kind of a thing. But it didn't really seem to be that. Come on, get clean. Okay, I'm going to have to paint those. Okay, yeah, this place is a dump. This place is a mess. But yeah, Sea of Thieves DLC, got a couple of those coming. Just Cause 4. Again, Just Cause 3. That was the one, like, I tried the original Just Cause, didn't really get into it. It was just, I just sucked at it or something. Just Cause 2 was pretty cool. Just Cause 3 is one of those games, again, that I picked up on sale. Haven't played it yet. Really need to play it because it looks fun as hell. Again, that's coming out. Just Cause 4 is coming out in December, so I'm gonna have to get my backlog going again here if I'm actually gonna hope to ever catch up to some of these series. But Just Cause is like this third-person open world, just completely nuts. Like the whole thing with that is you got this grappling hook and a parachute, and so you can like fling yourself, like grab onto a car, zip line to it, fling yourself in the air. Do your parachute, and you got all kinds of guns and explosions, and you're just basically lighting the whole world on fire. I mean, there's some videos out there of people just doing just stupid, ridiculous stuff on it. It's pretty great, actually. Let's see, Just Cause, Battlefield V, already talked about that already. There's some Cuphead DLC, not really sure, I guess it's some extra levels or something. I don't know if there's any other modes, like, that game really, really needs a true I suck mode that people can play. I know there was kind of an easier mode in the original game, but the problem with it is that you couldn't progress, because you would get to the actual boss, or you would get to some part of the end of the level or something, and it would be like, no, you got to do it for real. And just again, the graphic fidelity, the sheer amount of like bullets and craziness going on. Like I've watched videos of that game going, the art style is really neat, but like I would have a heck of a time. I would have trouble playing that game visually. So not really one that not one that I'm super interested in, just because I think I would have difficulty playing it. Dying Light 2. I don't think I did a video on the original Dying Light. I had thought about it. It's a first-person zombie apocalypse kind of a game, but it's really focused on melee combat and parkour. So like you're running through environments, like flinging yourself up buildings and over fences and trying to get, and doing melee combat. And Jawbreaker and I played it a little bit co-op. Kind of a new... It was a new franchise that was after... Oh, God, what was the other... There were two of them. There were two of them, too. What the hell was it called? Dead... It was a first person. Again, they know what they're doing. They're kind of in this one genre, the zombie melee kind of a thing. They didn't have the parkour in the other one, but you went to this vacation island, but it was infested. Oh, Jawbreaker and I did play all the way through that on PC. The heck was the name of that frickin' game? Anyway, but it's a kind of the spiritual successor, and now that has a sequel. So yeah, there you go. We got a spiritual successor to that. Dying Light 2 looked kind of interesting. Cuphead. Oh yeah, Jump Force. This, I'm not entirely sure what the heck is going on in this game, other than the fact it's like a fighting game, something that looks completely ridiculous because there's particle effects and lines, and like you got like Dragon Ball Z characters or something, and like everything is just super flashy and fast and loud and light, and it looks neat. It does look neat. I'll definitely give it that. But yeah, it's really colorful, really bright, really intense, really insane looking. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see what becomes of that. Let's see, what else do we got here? Like I said, I'm kind of to the point where I'm done with most of the cleaning. Now I got to go into menus and stuff, so I'm just kind of putzing around here. Forza Horizon 4. Unlike Best Buy's weird leak, no, it's not Forza Horizon 5, but Forza Horizon 4, which is going to be in Britain this time, the British Isles. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, again, these games are beautiful looking. The whole focus on this one is that like you can know all kinds of like social stuff, and there are the focus is also on seasons, so you have all 4 seasons represented. Everything changes, like even the world kind of changes. So like in the winter, water, like lakes and stuff might be frozen over, so you can actually drive on them. So yeah, I mean, that'll be cool. The main thing that I want to know about Forza Horizon 4, which is also going to be on the Game Pass, which kind of again makes me want to subscribe to that, because that's a game that I'll play for a while, and then there's just so much content that I probably won't ever beat it. I probably won't ever beat Forza 7 because there's just so much content, and I just have so many other games I need to play. But it's going to be in Game Pass, so there's that as well. But the thing I hope they fix in that game, and I let them know when I talked to Microsoft, earlier this spring, was that in Forza 7, the line on the road, the guiding line, was actually pretty good, but I found just because of the sheer like reflections and lighting and graphics overall in Forza Forza Horizon 3, I really had a problem with it, seeing the line in a lot of the areas, especially just because it was so glowy and it kind of blended in. I showed you some of that on the video that I shot for you guys on that particular game. So yeah, looking forward to it, but we'll see when we get there. Crackdown 3, which just prior to like a few days ago, they announced that it got delayed again. They had a teaser that really didn't show hardly any gameplay. It was just a guy talking smack. They did show some kind of orb collecting, so that's definitely a piece of it. But as much as I really, really want to like that game, as much as I really, really want another really fun Crackdown title. I'm getting nervous at this point just because I mean, that was supposed to be an Xbox One launch title. And then they were talking about all these, like, for the multiplayer modes, like these cloud services, like it would render all these explosions, you could destroy the city. I mean, it was making all these grandiose promises and stuff like that, and then they backed off on it, and they said, okay, we're retooling it a little bit. Last year they let people play it at E3 a little bit, but they said, it was kind of fun to play, but I mean, graphically it wasn't very good. But we'll see. And now it got delayed into 2019, which is a super bummer, because I would love to play me some more Crackdown. I guess that just means I really got to play more of the now available backwards compatible original Crackdown, because Crackdown 2 is actually pretty terrible. But it is on the Xbox One backwards compatibility, the first game is, and I have also recorded a video for it that I just haven't unlocked for you guys yet, but remember when I covered Saints Row 4 and the nice orb collecting? That was super fun. So yeah, looking forward to that. When and if it ever comes out. I was tempted to tweet something about, like, Duke Nukem, the new Duke Nukem Forever is here. You know, is that going to take a decade and a half for this thing to come out? I mean, come on, how long has it been? Then there is this Tunic game, which kind of seems to be this, again, third-person sort of action-y game. Don't know a whole lot about it, but there was some story mixed in with some kind of third-person gameplay-looking stuff. That could be interesting. Not quite sure what to think about it, but that looked good. And that was something I'd never heard about before. And then they had a trio of Gears of War announcements. The one that came out of nowhere for me was apparently there's an upcoming mobile game called Gears Pop, which is I don't know what the game itself is actually going to be, but it's the crossover between Gears of War and Funko Pop, of all things. So they took this really bloody, violent, action-y thing and turned it into a cartoony mobile game crossed with these over-exaggerated Funko figures. Now, I know Funko Pop is everywhere. I got a couple when I had the Loot Crate thing for a little while, but I've just never been into Funko Pop. I don't like the exaggerated. I mean, to me, I think the exaggerated look of them is just stupid looking. I do not like Funko Pop. Like, if I want an action figure, I want it to look like the real thing. I don't want some super deformed, like, I think the one I have was Optimus Prime, and it was like this ginormous head and a really tiny, almost like a South Park body, where, like, the head is like the biggest part of the body, and then you have like a tiny torso and legs. They're almost just like deformed bobbleheads to me. Like, I don't like them. I'm sorry. I wish I did, but I don't. Interestingly, when I was at CSUN last year, I did see the factory, or the headquarters of where they were. They were right down the street, like a block or two. But yeah, so this Funko Pop Gears of War, I'm like, okay. I'm curious, genuinely curious, A, what the game is going to be like on mobile, and B, what kind of financial screwiness they're going to do. Then they had this Gears of War Tactics. They just kind of did a quick 10-second blurb on that. That's coming to the PC. So it's going to be this turn-based strategy. They showed a couple little gameplay snippets. But it's going to be some kind of turn-based strategy sort of a thing, which, again, if you're into that, that'd be cool. I generally am not into the turn-based, even real-time strategy games all that much, but, I'll give it a chance. I'll look at some of the, like the quick looks or other videos and see if it's something that, again, visually that I could play or that I could get into. And then Gears of War 5, which I think it's not coming out till 2019, but it looked pretty good. I did pick up Gears of War 4. I think it was on a sale a while back. Did start it. Again, it's one of those, shiny object, distractions galore. I'm like, oh, yeah, new shiny object, new game. So I never did beat it. I've played Gears of War. I beat Gears of War 1, beat 2, never really played 3 much, and 4 I don't know either, so I got some catch up to do there. Yeah, I talked a little bit about Halo. I mean, it was just kind of like this teaser. Nothing really gameplay wise. That's definitely going to be a ways out. I'm guessing that's going to be like next fall's game or something like that. And then they ended it with Cyberpunk 2077. I really want to see gameplay for this because the trailer looked really intriguing. And it's by the same guys that made the Witcher series. I mean, they make just these like stupidly good looking games. I covered The Witcher 3 on my channel. Again, that's another game that like I got into and then I quit playing for a while. And the problem with that game was that there's so much going on, not just like with the mechanics, with the leveling, with the remembering what the hell you're supposed to do, what the controls are. I took time away from it, and then I was going to go back and going, I think I would have to start over because I don't remember anything. I don't hardly remember anything about the story. I didn't remember like how to play games like that. I think that that need where you have these like tons of gameplay systems and upgrades and skill trees and stuff. Like there almost needs to be like some sort of a like, hey, welcome back feature. Oh, we see you haven't played this in like a week or a month or 6 months. If you want to continue your story, here's a kind of a quick, here's previously what happened, and maybe could be like another little like refresher tutorial of like, oh yeah, here's how you actually play the game again. So yeah, Cyberpunk 2077, and that's going to be a while. That's not coming out this year, but it looked cool. It did look cool. I will definitely say that. So yeah, and the other thing that Microsoft did in the middle of the press conference, they talked not only about their subscription stuff, but they really are trying to focus more on games and exclusives and partnerships and things like that. So they bought like I can't even remember all of them, but there was 5 different companies that they basically made to be. They bought them, and they are like first party exclusives now, or second party, however you want to say that. But yeah, I mean they basically bought like 4 of these companies out, and they're gonna be now doing stuff exclusively for Microsoft. I know one of the Forza teams was one of them. Oh God, like I said, there were 5. There's so many games. There's so many games. I can't remember every little detail, but I know there were some ones that were already like the games that were already announced. They had done some stuff. But yeah, they are. It looks like they are kind of putting their money where their mouth is, and especially now that we've got the new leader. What do they have? That Don Matrick guy that when the Xbox One launched, that was a freaking disaster. It was like this TV Connect. Who cares? This is going to be your central entertainment system thing, and like it's like, oh yeah, it might happen to play some games. And now we got I just went stupid again. I can't remember the guy's name. But the guy that was on stage, I really like the guy because he seems to really get why people like the Xbox. They're doing stuff with accessibility and the adaptive controller. Oh, which, by the way, they did it during their Forza demo. How did I forget this? They did the trailer, but then they did this little quick Forza demo, and they showed a few people that were playing, and I noticed that one of them, there's like one person, and then the second person that they panned over to, he was playing with one of the new Xbox adaptive controllers. So they even highlighted that on their stage, which I did a quick tweet comment on. So awesome for that. But yeah, I mean, Microsoft's doing stuff with accessibility. They're redoubling down on games again. They are, like I said, they're getting some first party stuff again. They're getting that back. Their backwards compatibility is just awesome. I've got Burnout. I got a classic Burnout game. Yeah, I got Crackdown. I got Ninja Gaiden. Probably a couple other ones that I can't think of, but like a lot of there's several games that like are classics that are now I can play just boom like that, and even original Xbox titles. So I'm super glad about that. I was kind of surprised they didn't just drop an, oh, by the way, we know you're wanting some, I know you want some other classics, and boom, here they are today. That would have been kind of cool. I was hoping they would say something about that, but yeah, that's okay. Oh, one thing that I did forget about, and I must have skimmed over it. No gameplay footage, just some weird humor for about a 15-second trailer. Yep, all the teasing the last couple of years, they are getting a new Battletoads game. Which I have mixed feelings on. On one hand, I'm like, okay, cool, good. But, because they've been rumoring that and teasing it or whatever for a while. And it's going to be coming probably next year. But on the other hand, like, it would be cool, but I just don't know that I'm going to get into it because, oh wow, that is really flashy at night. Wow, that is a loud looking house. Alrighty, that'll stand out in the neighborhood. But Battletoads, like, I played the NES version, I played the Super Nintendo version, and like the first level is cool. The first level, you're almost always playing like a beat 'em up, like a Double Dragon style beat 'em up games with these toads, and like they're these goofy humor, like where you're fighting dudes and like you kick them, your foot grows big and you stomp them into the ground, and you're kicking dudes, whatever. But then it just goes off the rails, and like if the whole game was variations on being a beat 'em up, I would be okay with that. But like I said, the problem is it turns into like the turbo tunnel in the Super Nintendo one. Freaking impossible. That's as far as I got because I just look up the turbo tunnel on YouTube and you'll see. I mean, it probably doesn't look as hard as it is, but it's freaking hard. And then I'm watching like speed runs of people and like all the other levels. There's one level where you're going down the shaft, and like if you're playing co-op, you actually accidentally kill each other because you can. It's so easy to kill each other on these like strings or these ropes that you're going down. And then there's some stuff later where it's like a platforming thing where you're jumping on these like snake or these like blocks that kind of keep snaking around, and you gotta there's all kinds of gameplay styles. I'll just put it that way, and it's really hard. I like the beat 'em up stuff, but beyond that, I really don't care. So we'll see what the new one's going to be, but there you go. That is a quick overview of both of the EA and Microsoft press conferences. Again, I thought, aside from a couple indie titles, EA's showing was pretty average to weak at best. I didn't come away with that really super pumped for E3 starting. I'm like, okay, that was kind of a meh start to E3. Microsoft, though, I think they had a pretty good job. I think they do need to tie up some more like exclusives. I mean, things that are just like, oh my god, I have to have this game, like your God of War, your The Last of Us, your Uncharted series. I mean, they're getting some of that. They're kind of getting some of that. But I mean, like I said, even in an earlier video, we know what Halo is. We know what Gears of War is. We need like another exclusive. We need something that's, big like that, but like just, 5 and 6 titles. I think that's just too much. I think when you get to that point, maybe try something else, That's just my opinion, but I mean, overall though, like I said, really no complaints. They had quite a few exclusives. They had some premieres. They had, some third-party stuff that's coming to theirs, but like they have a solid lineup, and like I said, they're starting to really treat their fan base well. They got their Xbox Game Pass, which I'm really thinking about doing. They got their accessibility stuff, which again, wasn't mentioned, but I take really seriously, and a lot of their stuff is cross-platform to Windows 10 as well. So that's great. Anyway, as we're staring at the house, as our sun comes up, that'll about do it. I figure if I would have waited for the Bethesda show tonight, there would have been just way too much to cover, let alone remember to think about, anything like that. So, yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. And interesting start to E3. Microsoft started out pretty nice. I'm actually very curious to see what Bethesda has Depending on how much they do, I might crank out another video tonight, but I'm kind of thinking I'll probably do... There's at least 4 or 5. Let's see, you've got Square, Ubisoft, Sony, the PC Gamers Show. I think there's maybe even one more sneaked in there somewhere, and the Nintendo on Tuesday. But like, so I don't know. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 more videos after this. But yeah, the E3's starting out okay, even with all the leaks. Not a bad showing so far. I was kind of hoping for a Splinter Cell too, because there's, you know, with some Splinter Cell DLC for, I forget what game it was, but I was hoping for another one of those, because that would be kind of cool. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.